Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I, like most people, have been playing a ton of the new Pokemon games lately, and I really want to talk about it. Not how badly it runs or the game itself so much, on account of I haven't finished it yet, and so I'm still sort of collecting my thoughts on it. But what I really want to talk about is the designs of the new Pokemon, the Gen 9 Pokemon, because I think this might be the most hit and miss generation we have ever had. Also, you're pretty much guaranteed to hear some traffic noise in the background of this video, which I apologize for in advance. They're doing some construction down the road, and the street right next to my apartment has been really busy lately, so you and I are both just gonna have to live with that. But let's get into it. Alright, so I think I'm just going to do this in Pokedex order. That way the more endgame spoilery ones will be at the end of the list so that you can click off before we get there. And I'll try to give you a warning before then so that people who don't want to see them don't have to. But what that means is that we're starting with the starters, and specifically the Sprigatito line. So Sprigatito, Florigato, and Meowscarada. This is actually the starter that I chose. Because it's a cute little weed cat. I just like it a lot. Sprigatito I think is cute. I think all of the first stages of the starters are cute and fine and good. Florigato has just like middle stage syndrome where it's very forgettable and it doesn't really do much for me. Meowscarada, on the other hand, I really like. When I saw it before release, because I looked up the final stages of the starters before I started the game because I didn't want to pick the wrong starter. And I think Meowscarada is very clearly the best of the three. But when I saw it in pictures before I started playing, I wasn't very excited about it. And then when I finally saw it in game, I think it looks better in game in that world than any picture that you can look at of it. Because I know a lot of people were really disappointed with this line just because Sprigatito stood up onto two legs. And I know that that's like a trope that people are really against. But if I had to choose between that trope and what they did with the other two starters, I would very, very happily choose Meowscarada every single time. Which brings us to Fuecoco and his line. Fuecoco, Crocolore, and Skeledirge. Fuecoco, again, I think it's fine. I really like Fuecoco. I think he's cute. I like all the memes that have come out of him just like being a dumb bite machine. I think that's really cute. Crocolore, I think, is where we start getting mildly problematic because he's wearing a sombrero. Like, I understand that it's supposed to be a nest with a bird's egg in it because of the final evolution. But that's a sombrero. Like, that's clearly a sombrero, which is not a Spanish thing. This game takes place in like a fictional version of the Iberian Peninsula, so like Spain and Portugal. And sombreros are very much like a Mexican thing. So it's like, this is the colonialism Pokemon, which is supported again by its final evolution, Skeledirge, who I'm pretty sure is supposed to have like a Day of the Dead like color scheme on its face, which I think is also supported by the fact that it becomes a ghost type at this point. I really don't like Skeledirge, like, at all. He looks weirdly blocky in game. He's got like this chest plate that's like a square. It kind of looks like old pictures of like PS2 era Lara Croft where she just had like the triangle boobs. It kind of looks like that. It's just not good. And also the fire effect on its mouth could look really cool, but because it's on the Switch and being made by Game Freak, who are just not great game designers, it doesn't look good. So it just doesn't work for me on any level. I think it's very clearly the worst of the three. And then the last starter, Quaxly, Quaxwell, and Quaquaval. I actually don't hate this line. I think they're fine. Quaxly is great. I love Quaxly. I think he's just a little sassy duck boy. Quaxwell, again, very much middle stage syndrome where it's very forgettable. Although I will say I think it's the best of the three middle stages for this generation. Just because I like his big dumb hat piece. Quaquaval, on the other hand, it's just too much for me. Like, it's too designed. It's like almost over designed. The patterning on the legs and the arms is fine. The hat, is weird. I don't understand why it's got all the weird like floating discs behind it, because in model, like in game, those aren't attached properly. They're just kind of like floating loose in the air around Quaquaval, and I don't know what that's about. And also, he's just animated to be constantly shaking his ass, which, like, I get it. He's supposed to be like Carnival, so it's like a party, it's a fiesta, like whatever. But yeah, I don't need my Pokemon to just be constantly shaking his ass in my face. It's just it doesn't do it for me. Shout out to whoever it does, but not me. Then we got Lechonk and Oinkalone. Lechonk, I think, is great. I think this is probably one of my favorite Pokemon of this generation. Lechonk is very cute. It's not, the most exciting design. It's definitely just a cute pig. Oinkalone, I think, is supposed to be based on like Cologne. It's very French, which makes sense because the Iberian Peninsula is right next to France. Like, I think the only thing between Spain and France is Andorra, which is like the smallest country in the world. So I don't think they're holding up much. So like, fair enough that there's something French in there. But I think it's supposed to. I think that cologne is supposed to be like, like perfume, because on the male version the tail looks like one of the like squeeze bottle ones, and then on the female one it looks like a diffuser. So I think that's what they're going for there. It's not the most exciting design for Oinkalone either. Again, it's just like, this is a pig, but like vaguely French. It's fine, I don't think anyone's going to be like, that's my favorite design of this year or this generation, but it's definitely not the worst. So it's perfectly fine. If you use it on your team, I have no problem with that, which is not something I can say for Tarantula and Spidops. Tarantula is one of the first Pokemon that you see in this generation, and I didn't immediately recognize it as like a creature. I actually just thought it was a pickup, because it doesn't really look like it's alive, because they'll just be these like balls hanging from the trees or like rolling around on the ground. I don't love it. I think Tarantula is okay. It's just a weird cartoony spider with yarn on its butt. Like, that's fine, whatever. Spidops, though, I hate. I really, really don't like Spidops. Something about the face design just doesn't read as insect to me. It looks more like, I don't know, like an ogre or something. Like, I don't get it. The legs look like bamboo, which doesn't make sense because I don't think bamboo is a Spanish thing at all. I also really don't like how its back end ends in this like megaphone shape, like it's gonna just shoot a shotgun of web out its butt. I really don't like Spidops. I genuinely, I think Spidops is a mistake and probably shouldn't have made it into this generation. But we did get a good bug this generation with Nimble and Low Kicks. My only problem with these is that they don't 100% read as Pokemon because they're robots, which I understand is like one of the themes of this game, so I'll let it slide. Nimble is very cute and I like it a lot. When I saw it, well, I actually didn't see it in the game originally. I just kind of accidentally stepped on it because it's very small, which is a reoccurring problem in this game, where you will just be walking through the middle of nowhere and step on a Pokemon you didn't even see, and then like all of a sudden I'm in a fight, which I guess is fine because in the old games it was random fights and grass anyway, so it's not that much different. But Nimble's fine. He's very cute. He's kind of basic, but whatever. Low Kicks I really like. He actually was on my team for a little while. He was replaced relatively quickly. I think he only made it through like one gym. But I like him a lot, which is honestly saying a lot for a bug type Pokemon. I don't think I've ever kept a bug type on my team long term. I did a Scizor once, I think, but otherwise bug type just like doesn't stick around. I don't think it's a very good type in general. So it was cool that this one, I think, kind of breaks the mold on that. I think he's just a cool design. I like him a lot. Again, I think my only problem with him is that he doesn't really feel super like a Pokemon, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Then we've got the Pikachu of this generation, Pawmi. I love Pawmi. I think he's very cute. when I first saw him, I was like, I really hope you turn into something cool because you're going to be on my team for a long time. And the sad thing is that he doesn't. So Pawmi turns into Pawmo and then Pawmot, and they're fine. Like, I don't have anything wrong with them. It's just that they don't really change much. You know what I mean? Like, the difference between Pawmi and Pawmo seems to be, I mean, it picks up the fighting type, which is interesting. But the only physical difference seems to be that it stands up, which is not much of a change for me. Like, I think that's kind of boring. And then between Pawmo and Pawmot, it just, like, spikes up its hair. I don't know. It's a good Pokemon. Like, I had it for a while. It has, I think its special ability is called, like, Revival Blessing, which is just a free revive in combat. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, it's definitely a useful Pokemon. I just wish it was a more interesting design. You know what I mean? It's not exciting. It's not terrible. It just kind of is. And I think that's a little disappointing. It's not the end of the world or anything, but I wish it was more. But then we've got one of my favorite Pokemon of this generation, actually probably my singular favorite Pokemon of this generation, Clodsire. So Clodsire evolves from Paldean Wooper, which a lot of people have been calling Pooper because it's just a brown Wooper. Paldean Wooper, not a great design. It's just Wooper again, but in a different color, which I like Wooper, so I'm not mad about it. But like, they could have done something else with it if they wanted. Clodsire, on the other hand, is perfect. I love Clodsire. I want a plush of Clodsire. I love it. He's just this little round ball man who's just like, you put him out in battle and he's just like plop down on the ground, and he does attack and the spikes come up on his back like an axolotl. He's very cute. I just love him. He is my absolute favorite Pokemon of this generation. I don't think that there's anyone who even really comes close. He's just perfect. I have nothing negative to say about him. He's a powerhouse on my team too, because he keeps Water Absorb, which is an extremely useful ability. And then the Poison Ground type, he just ended up being like a tank for me, where it felt like just nothing could kill him very easily. So he became a very strong member of my team to just, he would throw out like toxic spikes or poison someone and then just stall. He's very good at stalling. Best Pokemon this generation. And then we roll straight into one of the worst Pokemon this generation, which is weird. So I've heard people being really positive about Tandem Mouse and Mousehold, and I'm happy for people who like it. I don't want to take away anyone's enjoyment of a thing. I don't get it though. I hate these Pokemon. I think these are just incredibly basic, boring, bad designs. Right? You get Tandem Mouse, and it's these two. They look like. Do you remember those like pressed cotton doll toys that probably your grandma had? They remind me of that, or like maybe like a Christmas ornament mouse. But you walk into them in combat and their mouth just unhinges and snaps open like a snake, and it's first of all terrifying. I hate it. It's not cool. Don't like it at all. And then their evolution makes me feel genuinely bad because so I've caught this couple in a Pokeball, which, is already kind of weird to have more than one thing in a Pokeball. I've never liked that. I didn't like it with Phalanx. I don't like it with, even with Execute from Gen 1. I always thought that was weird, that we're just stuffing all of these dudes in one ball. And then it evolves, and unless it's in combat when it evolves, you don't even get an evolution screen for it. You just throw it out again, and then all of a sudden it has babies. And that's not, having children is not an evolution. That's copulation. That's a different thing. And it's especially weird in this universe where people still act like they don't know how Pokemon breed. But it is very strange to just not know that your Pokemon evolved and then throw it out and now there's 4 of it. That, it was very weird. And I guess that's kind of an interesting gimmick, but the design of it is just really boring. And so taking a really boring design and then doing 4 of it, that doesn't do anything for me, right? I think it's, I don't want to say lazy, but maybe lazy. I don't get it. I don't like it. But I really like Fidough and Dashbun. These are probably one of the better designs of this generation. Fidough we saw well before release, and I was already there's a solid chance that that's going to be on my team because it's adorable. It's just a little raw dough dog, and then it evolves and it becomes a fully baked bread. It's got these big rolls on its ears. And it's adorable. It's bigger than I thought it would be. Like, you throw it out next to people and it's like a big dog. Like, you look at it and you're like, and it looks like it's just like a small, like a wiener dog or something. But no, it's like a full-size dog. It's very strange. But it is adorable and I love it and it looks delicious and I like kind of also want to eat it, which is probably not great, but I do love it. That takes us into, I think, again, one of the more disappointing evolutions of this generation with Smoliv. So Smoliv, I love. The Smoliv by itself, I think, is a great design. It kind of reminds me of like the first forms of Digimon, where they're just like little scrungo balls with like maybe one or two defining details. And I don't hate that. I think that's really cute. It evolves into Dolive, and I'm like, okay, it's a little girl plant. We've done that before. We've done that a couple of times before, actually, because we have like Roselia and Petalil and like a bunch of like we've done this before. I hope we take this a different direction. And then we go to Arboliva, and I just don't like Arboliva is the problem. I think it's really boring. It just becomes like kind of a generic tree looking Pokemon. I think it's supposed to be like an opera singer, which makes sense for Spain, but the olives on it are just, they look like they're just placed, like literally copied and pasted down the branches. They're not doing anything interesting with it, to the point where like it being an olive Pokemon almost feels like a secondary thought, where they're just like, oh yeah, that's right, it evolved from an olive, so I guess it has to be an olive branch. And it just, I don't care for it at all. I think like I had Dolive and I was still like crossing my fingers. I was like, this could evolve into something cool, even if it just evolves into like another lady plant, that could be fine. And then it turned into Arboliva and it immediately left my team because I absolutely hated it. Squawkabilly is next, and man, Squawkabilly just confuses me. I don't hate Squawkabilly. I think it's a fine design, although it did piss me off when I first saw it, because what had happened was there was a group where it was like 5 green Squawkabilly and then a blue one, and I thought the blue one was a shiny. So I ran up and I caught it and I was really excited, and then I turned and there's just another group of them where they're like almost all blue, and I was like, oh no. So Squawkabilly comes in like 4 different colors. If you didn't know, if you hadn't been playing, they come in, I think, green, blue, yellow, and white. So like figuring out which one is the shiny, I don't know what the shiny of it looks like, but it's not any of those. They just come in different colors, which is like, it's fine. But it did definitely confuse me. The other thing that confused me, Squawkabilly is supposed to be like a play on Rockabilly, like Elvis. Is that popular in Spain? Is that a thing in Spain? Do the Spanish love Elvis? Is this a thing that I just didn't know? Because I don't know. It just feels weirdly out of place. It's not terrible, but I don't get it. Oh, but this one is terrible. Okay, so Knackly, Knackle-Stack, and Garganicle, or Garganacle, maybe? I hate this Pokemon. I genuinely hate this Pokemon. First of all, it doesn't look like a Pokemon at all, which is not make or break, but it does not feel like a Pokemon. You look at it and like, that's a Minecraft. That's a Minecraft monster. Every single one of them, especially the last 2, are just like, that is a mob that you would see in a Minecraft, and you would run away from it probably because it's whatever. I also hate how every time I watch a video and people are talking about these Pokemon, they're like, isn't it really cool that it's called Knackly, like NaCl, like sodium chloride, as in like, because it's salt. It's a salt Pokemon. Did you get that it's salt and this is the scientific notation for salt? Like, wow, how cool, super smart. And it's like, yes, obviously, like everyone knows that. Sodium chloride is like the most common thing that you learn in high school chemistry or whatever. We all, hey, guess what, we got it. It's not that clever. Also, it's just like a really boring design. Like, you look at Knackly and it's just like, I don't even know if it reads as like a salt rock. Like, it almost looks like just a hard cupcake, and I don't know that that's the direction that they were going for. And then it evolves into this, like, Knackle-Stack is already bad, because especially in the eyes, it's just like, that is a Minecraft monster, and it looks so out of place. You see one of these walking around in game, and you're like, oh, I'm just in a different video game right now. And then Garganacle is terrible. I hate these Pokemon. I think these are by far, I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think these genuinely might be the worst new Pokemon of this generation, because they're awful. Like, genuinely awful. Also, I hate that they're just pure rock type. Like, if you're going to do a 3-stage evolution and the 3rd stage is going to be a big salt golem, like, you can think of something more interesting than just pure rock type. You could have for sure done something with this. I don't know if they have a good ability. I will never have one of these on my team, so I don't know if they, like, do something cool in combat. I'm assuming not. Maybe they're, like, super weak to water because salt dissolves in water. I don't know. But they're awful. Then we've got, the new Primeape evolution. So in this game, Primeape evolves into Annihilape, which is a good name, but not a great design. I think it's a little over-designed. I don't hate it, but I think it's just a little bit too much. So it's an interesting thing because a lot of the old Pokedex entries for Primeape were like, sometimes it gets so mad that it dies, and then in this one, it can do that. Like, it has a move called Rage Fist, and I think you have to use it like 10 times or something, and then it evolves into Annihilape, which is a fighting ghost type. So it literally gets so angry it dies. And, like, that's interesting. It's fun for them to, like, pull on the old Dex entries, like the old lore, to come up with a new evolution for it. I just wish it looked better. Like, the hair in front of the eyes is fine, and the hair spiking up is fine. I wish it was one or the other. I think it's just too much going on. Especially the hair. I would choose the hair going down. I think the hair going up is specifically too much, especially because it has the little floating bits, and in game they just don't animate well, which is it's just a problem with the game in general. Is just things don't animate well. So maybe that's the game failing the design and not the design just being bad. But it really doesn't look good in game, and also I don't know. It's just like it's really disappointing. I think because I think Primeape is always a Pokemon that I've had a lot of love for, but never really used because it's not particularly good or interesting. And Annihilape is more useful. Like, it's a better Pokemon in terms of just, like, combat ability. But I just can't bring myself to use it because it just, I don't know, it just looks really dumb. I don't know. I think it's just too much. But on a more positive note, we've got another one of the better designs of this generation with Charcadet. So Charcadet is a Pokemon that does the split evolution that they showed before the game released. It evolves in Pokemon Scarlet, the one that I played. It evolves into Armarouge. And in Pokemon Violet, it evolves into Ceruledge. Armarouge, I think, this is probably going to be a hot take. I think Armarouge is the better Pokemon. Not necessarily the better design, but I think it's the better Pokemon. First of all, it's a lot easier to evolve. Because what you have to do is you have to take Charcadet... Well, I guess you don't have to do it with Charcadet, but you have to fight either Bronzong or Bronzor. Which one's the first one? Bronzong? I think it's Bronzong. To get parts that you can use to turn into armor to evolve it into Armarouge. And for Ceruledge, you have to do the exact same thing, but with Sinistea. And Sinistea is a lot harder to find. It's only in one area of the game that you can't really get to until, like, end game. Or, like, pretty close to end game. Like, all the Pokemon there are really high level, so it would be a hard fight. So you're not going to get Ceruledge until your Pokemon are in the, like, 40s, maybe late 30s. And at that point, you're already going to be probably halfway through the game, if not more. So it's not great. Also, we've done Fire Ghost before with Chandelure, and I really like Chandelure, and I think Chandelure is genuinely a better Pokemon than Ceruledge. Armarouge, Fire Psychic, I don't know if we've done that before. We might have, but I don't remember it. So I think it's just a better Pokemon. It's on my team right now. Again, I haven't finished the game, so it might not make it through the rest of the game if there's, something else that I just, I have to, like, balance the team or something. But right now it's on my team, and it's a powerhouse. Like, it's really strong. Fire Psychic is a great combo, and I love it. I think, to be fair, I love both of the designs. Armarouge and Ceruledge, I think, are both fantastic. It has that thing where it doesn't necessarily 100% read as a Pokemon again, which isn't a huge problem. It isn't good, but it's not a problem. But I think the idea of, like, one is defense and one is attack, we've done that idea before. We did it literally with the legendaries of Sword and Shield. So it's not, like, the most unique concept, but I do like their designs. What I don't like is the designs of Tadbulb and Bellabolt. Bellabolt, at first I loved. right? When they showed it before the game came out, I loved Bellabolt. I thought he was super duper cute. And then you see him in game, and the dots in the middle of his head turn out, those are the eyeballs, and they blink constantly, and it's gross. I don't like it. It immediately put me off this Pokemon. Also, the fact that it's just a pure electric type is like, it's not a, like, that's fine, I guess, but there's way better pure electric types in this game that, like, there was no way that this Pokemon was going to make it on my team. I think this is, it's not a terrible design, but I would never use it. Tadbulb, entirely forgettable. I think it's one of those Pokemon where people are just going to not, I genuinely, I don't think people are going to remember the Tadbulb as a Pokemon. It's going to be one of those ones that just gets completely overlooked. And that's a bummer, because, like, I don't know, it feels like a wasted slot. I know that that's not really how it works, but it feels that way. Speaking of just better electric types, the next one is Wattrel and Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel is on my team right now. He's very strong. He's very good. Electric Flying is it's a good pairing, because it gets rid of one of their weaknesses in electric by being part electric. So it just makes it a better bird type Pokemon. I think as far as like regional bird type, like birds go, I assume this is what I assume this is the like Pidgey of this generation. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I've been kind of reading it, because there are a lot of birds in this generation, to be fair. But I think this is one of my favorites of those. I think it's like, it's below Talonflame, and it's below, it might only be below Talonflame. Like, I don't know, I'd have to really think about it, but I think it's great. I think it's a good pairing. I like its design. I think its color. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. You throw it out in game, and Kilowattrel is like a full ass bird. Like, that's a big boy. But I like him. I think he's pretty cool. What I don't like, oh man, Dunsparce. Okay, so I hate Dunsparce. I've never liked Dunsparce, just the regular Pokemon. I know a lot of people are like have been pulling for Dunsparce. They're like, I love Dunsparce, you know, I want it. And people, genuinely, okay, here's the thing. People have been wanting Dunsparce to get an evolution for as long as I can remember. Like, like asking for it. People thought Drampa was going to be a Dunsparce evolution. People have wanted it for so long. And then we finally get it, and it's this. And that's so disappointing. They don't give it a new typing. All they do is they take Dunsparce and they add another body segment to it. So it doesn't even, when you see it in the game, you don't even immediately recognize it as like a different Pokemon, right? Which is bad. Like, that's really bad. And the name is already stupid to just put like Dunsparce, because it's two of the body segments, I guess, is like it's like Dunsparce. I hate this. I think this is genuinely offensive. I think if I was one of the people who was really pulling for Dunsparce to get an evolution, I would be pissed, like genuinely pissed about this. But instead, I just ignore this Pokemon because I think it's stupid. I always thought Dunsparce was stupid, and I don't think this is any better because it's the exact same thing. But you know who did get a good evolution? Girafarig, when it turned into Farigiraf, who is really good. I love Farigiraf. Again, this is another one that made it onto my team. He's very strong. What's it called? Twin Beam or whatever, his like special move. Very good. Very strong. Like, genuinely almost feels broken because it hits really hard and it hits twice, which doesn't feel fair, but whatever. If it's on my team, I guess I don't care. Also, I think it's just a cool design. It turns into like more of a proper giraffe. Like, Girafarig never really read 100% as a giraffe. I think if its name was something different, I wouldn't even think that it was a giraffe. But Farigiraf, 100%, that's a giraffe. Cool. The idea of having the tail wrap around the head of it and become like almost like a cowl, I think that's fine. I think that's a good explanation for why it has the psychic type. All around, I think it's just a good Pokemon. I really like Farigiraf. I don't think it's, gonna break my like top 10 or probably even top 25 favorite Pokemon, but it's definitely one of my favorites of this generation. Okay. Then we got Mabosstiff and Mabosstiff. So I've got mixed feelings about these guys. Mabosstiff, I hate. Like, hate. I think the face he's making is really stupid. I think he doesn't look like a Pokemon. I don't like the eyes. I don't like anything about Mabosstiff. I think he's terrible. I think he's genuinely terrible. But Mabosstiff, I really like. I really like Mabosstiff. It's not like a great design. It's just like, it's a dog, but it's old and also like kind of a mob boss. And that's not like the most unique thing in the world, I guess. Also, it's weird because, like, did we really need a second dark type dog? And okay, don't come at me in the comments with like, you're talking about Mightyena. Mightyena's not a dog, it's a hyena. But like, okay, yes, first of all, I knew that. Second of all, it's still a dog though. Like, I know that it's a hyena, and hyena is not a dog. But if I showed a picture of Mightyena to anybody who did not know its name, and I was like, what animal is this supposed to be? They're gonna say dog. They're gonna say dog 100% of the time because it looks like a dog. It's a dog, right? So I don't know that we necessarily needed a second dark type dog Pokemon. But I do really like him, especially, you know, I think maybe it's a little bit colored by I think the Arden story, which I'm not going to spoil, but the Arden story, his Mabosstiff, I think has really made him a more interesting Pokemon in my mind. So that might be kind of an unfair advantage that he gets. But I really like him. He didn't make my team because I don't think he's very good. Also, I didn't need a dark type. But I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's very cute. Would 100% have a Mabosstiff in real life if they were a thing. Would 100% get one of those. Okay, then we got, another one that I'm very mixed on. Shroodle and Grafaiai. So, Shroodle, again, hate Shroodle. Don't like it. It's a little scrungo with just like its tongue sticking out, I think is what that's supposed to be. Maybe a tooth? Are they teeth, maybe? I don't know. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. I bumped into it and I was like, I caught it because I was trying to do the dex, which I don't think I'm going to end up completing it, but at the time I was just trying to catch anything. So I have one, and I haven't used it, haven't even touched it, don't like it, something about the really big eyes on a very small body just creeps me out. I don't know. Also, like, the head and the body, it's just a scrungo. I don't care for it. I don't care for it at all. Grafaiai, though, I like Grafaiai a lot. It's not going to make my team because I don't need another poison type. But if Clodsire wasn't so awesome, Grafaiai would be a good poison type from this generation to have. I like his design. I like that he's like a little asshole. He's just like a little punk ass bitch who like graffitis stuff. I think that's really cute. I don't care for his very long middle fingers. That's very like salad fingers and kind of creepy, and I could do without, frankly. But you know what? I'm always down for like a really cute lemur Pokemon, and that is one of those. So cool, 100%. Let's keep Grafaiai. I think he's solid. Oh man. Okay, so this is probably the biggest competition for worst design of this generation. Bramblin and Bramblegast. I hate Bramblin and Bramblegast. They genuinely piss me off. I see them in the wild, like playing the game, and I'm like, that's stupid. That's a stupid design. Like I can't even overlook them. Every time I see them, it makes me a little bit more angry. Also, we already have done, so it's a Tumbleweed Pokemon, right? Which, like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't think Tumbleweed's a Spain thing? Does that even make sense for the location? I don't think so. Like, when I think of Spain, I don't think of, like, the Old West, which is where I think of Tumbleweeds as a thing. But, like, I don't know, maybe they got Tumbleweeds there too, who knows? But, I feel like if we were going to do a Tumbleweed Pokemon, there was a better design we could have done than just, hey, it's just like a bunch of roots in a ball, and we're going to stick 2 floating eyes in the middle. And then the evolution is just, the eyes are going to get bigger, and it's going to get like a dumb smiley face. Like, that's so dumb. I hate that. I genuinely hate that design. I think it's terrible. And then the typing, Grass Ghost, we've already done that. And we did it better with Phantump and was it Phantump? Trevenant? Yeah, it's Phantump and Trevenant. I got confused with Pumpkaboo for a second. But Phantump and Trevenant are just way better. They're way better Pokemon than this. They're better designs by a mile. Like, so much better. God, I hate these ones. I just really hate these ones. We're moving on. I don't want to look at them anymore. Oh, okay. This one's kind of boring, but I get with it. Toad School and Toad's Cruel. So these are just like a Paldean version of Tentacool and Tentacruel. I wish that they looked more different than the original versions of them, because they do kind of just look like palette swaps, which is a bummer. but you know, it is what it is. Their typing is interesting. I think the idea of them being like fungus is also cool. Like I think the idea is cooler than the design. Although I would keep Toadschool 100% the same, just because the way that he runs in the game is really cute. He just has these really long legs and he's just like, he's very cute. I love him. Toad's Cruel, like, again, I like it, but I wish it was more different. You know what I mean? Like, I could see myself using a Toadscruel on my team. I think it's a good typing. I genuinely think it's a perfectly fine Pokemon. I just wish it was more different, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it's bad, but I wish it was better. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel about it. Then we've got another palette swap that I think does it a lot worse, which is Paldean Tauros. There are 3 different forms of Paldean Tauros, which you might not have known, because they all just kind of hang out together and they look almost identical. So in game, it is very hard to tell the difference between them at a distance. One is just pure fighting type, and it's just Tauros but black. Like, it's just a different color of Tauros, and I think its horns are different, but like otherwise it is practically identical, to the point where I don't know why they even bothered doing it. Then you've got the firefighting version, which looks almost exactly the same, except the horns are different and its tail is braided and it has like some red things in its mane. I don't know. Like, I don't know why they bothered. And then there's a water fighting version, which is its tail looks like a propeller and it has a little bit more hair down below with some blue stuff in it. I don't know. This feels like such a waste of time to me. Like, I feel, the idea of having like a fighting type bull Pokemon in Spain makes sense because of bullfights, right? Like, that makes sense. I totally get it. On paper, great idea. In practice, you took Tauros and you made him black. Like, you just changed his color. And it's like, you could have done so much more with this. Like, you could have added some Matador elements or just done a complete, like, you didn't even need to do a new Tauros. You could have made a new evolution for Tauros that would have been like a bigger fighting type Pokemon or whatever, and that would have been really cool. Like, you did that with other Pokemon, right? Where like Clodsire is basically just a new evolution for Wooper, and he's the best Pokemon in this generation. So like, this new Tauros should have been an evolution for Tauros, and it should have looked more interesting and just been better in general. And like, maybe it's a split evolution like Eevee, where depending on how you evolve it, it either becomes just a fighting type or it becomes, you know, the firefighting or the fire-water, or firefighting or water fighting type, right? Just make it like a new bull version of Eevee, right? That would be cool. Why? Sure, like, that sounds cool. Let's do that. But instead, you have these just palette swapped Tauros that don't do anything different, and they're just, I don't know, it's really disappointing. I love Tauros. Tauros was one of my favorite Pokemon of the first generation, even though he's honestly not that good and like pretty underutilized in everything. I think he should have had a pre-evolution. He should get an evolution, but this is not it. That's just really disappointing. Okay, then we got Cloth. Okay, so I really like Cloth. I think he's really cute. The noise he makes is horrifying, but I think he's really cute. The idea of just like, he's a crab but he's a rock, like, it's not the most unique thing in the world, just, you know, putting that out there. Also, we already have like a bunch of crab Pokemon, so I don't know that we necessarily needed a new crab Pokemon. But I will say, if we were going to get one, I'm glad that it was at least a cool design. I think it's really cute. I wish it had like an evolution. I think the one stage of it is the only reason that it stayed off my team. If it had evolved into something like bigger or cooler, then it almost certainly would have made it on there. I probably could have used a rock type on my team, and I don't have one. And I'm probably not going to get one. But he could have been very useful. I think he's really cool. I just, again, like a lot of these other designs, I wish it was more. I wish there was more to it. I wish it was a little bit better of a design. But for what it is, I love it. I think if I listed out like my top 10 designs of this generation, I think he would be in it, but like begrudgingly, you know what I mean? So there's that. Oh, okay, and we're right back into the negative. I apologize. So Capsakid and Scovillain. I hate them. Capsakid is fine, I guess. He just looks like a little Kappa, like the Japanese yokai, and that's cute. You know, I like Kappas. Why not? Cute. Let's go for it. Like, that could have evolved into something very interesting, but instead it evolved into the most Fakeamon looking Pokemon of all time. Scovillain is awful. It doesn't read like a Pokemon. It reads like something that somebody would make as like a joke Pokemon and be like, look, this new Pokemon just leaked, check it out. And then like it would be this and people be like, oh wow, they finally did Grafaiai, that's really cool. But then like, I don't know, I feel like I've seen Fakeamon designs that were exactly this, you know what I mean? And so that's immediately disappointing that they couldn't come up with like a unique idea. And then on top of that, it just looks stupid. Like this is one of the designs, and we'll get into it more so later, but this looks like one of the designs where just like, instead of turning in a real design, somebody accidentally turned in like their child's notebook with just like doodles in it, and this was one of them. Like that's what that feels like. But let's move on to Rellor and Robska, the dung beetle Pokemon. I think these are fine. I think Rellor is especially fine. It's literally just a dung beetle. It has like a weird face on it, and I don't know why the dung looks like that. I guess they don't want it to be poop, because like it's a kid's game, so they don't want it to just be like, this is a Pokemon that is by and large a ball of shit. And so like they just made it look like, I don't know, a donut hole? Like what is that supposed to be rolled up in it? I don't know. I have no idea. I probably could have read the Dex entry and it probably would have told me, but I don't know. I don't like the evolution as much. I think its colors are very bad, just very bad. It's way too bright, way too just gaudy. And I don't like how the dung ball turns into what looks like a prolapsed anus. Like I don't think it's good. I don't like it. Bug Psychic is an interesting typing, I guess, at least. It's never going to make it on my team, but I can understand why it would make it onto other people's teams. You know what I mean? So there's that at least. Okay. Then we've got Flittle and Espathra. These are... Oh, man... I have very mixed feelings about these ones. So Flittle is nothing, right? It looks like a tissue box with just like two openings, and it's got the two tissues coming out the side. Like that's what it looks like to me. I think it's very boring and very basic. It's probably based on some like decoration that Spanish people do for some holiday, or I don't know. But it's just kind of nothing for me. Also, I don't like the eyes. Looking at it now, the eyes I don't care for them. And then Espathra, I think there's a lot of potential in Espathra. You know, an ostrich Pokemon, sure. I don't think we've had one of those, so cool. That's a good idea. I don't know why it's wearing like a bridal veil or like a wedding dress. I think that's a very strange choice that I wouldn't have made. And also, you can't really tell from this picture as much, but in game it's like metallic. Like the wings on it and all that stuff looks like this like velour or like metallic material. And it looks really bad, like really bad. And the colors are way too bright. Like it looks like somebody did like a Halloween decoration and then just left it out too long. Like that's what Espathra looks like. I wish it was better. I don't like the eyes. They're just like solid blue. I don't know. It's very bad. But this one I think irritates me mostly because I feel like it could have been and should have been so much more than it is, and so it's just really, really disappointing. Oh, here comes my hottest take of this generation, I think, because I know a lot of people are really big fans of Tinkatink, Tinkatuff, and Tinkaton, including some of my friends. My friend Christian, this is his favorite Pokemon is Tinkaton, which makes sense. It's very much in keeping with the things that he likes. Me, on the other hand, I hate these. I think these are awful. The typing is interesting, you know, Fairy Steel, but I feel like we could have come up with a more interesting concept for a Fairy Steel Pokemon than just it's a fairy with a hammer. Like, that's really stupid. Also, the designs of it are just awful. It's just like a little pink thing with like a piece of metal in its hand, and then it evolves to have a really bad wig and a bigger piece of metal, and then it turns into like almost a bunny with a big hammer, and like that's almost a design, like that's almost a Pokemon. But none of them, first of all, okay, none of these look like Pokemon. These are Digimon, and I know people level that complaint at new Pokemon designs a lot, but you cannot tell me that that's not a Digimon. Like these do not, like these are 100% Digimon designs. Second of all, They're super bright. They stick out in the landscape really hard in a way that's like impossible to overlook. They are so pink. They are so bright and so ugly, and I hate them. And also, like, their Pokedex entry says that Tinkaton like knocks Corviknights out of the air, which is really disappointing because like Corviknights are one of the coolest new Pokemon from the previous generation. So it's like now we've made a terrible new design that is his entire thing is that he kills one of the good Pokemon from last generation. Like, I don't know. It's really stupid. It's super strong. Like, it's a really good Pokemon. So, like, honestly, like, no hard feelings if you use it on your team. Or even if you think it's a cool design. Because, like, you know, this is just opinions. Whatever. Like what you like. But I hate this Pokemon. I think it's terrible. I think it's genuinely terrible. I don't... Man. This is another one. It's like Tinkaton, Bramblin. I don't even remember what the other one is. I put it out of my memory. There's a couple of contenders for absolute worst designs, maybe of any Pokemon ever, but definitely for this generation. And Tinkaton is definitely in that category. I hate this Pokemon. I hate it so much. Let's move on to, I guess, a slightly more positive note. Wiglett and Wugtrio. I really don't like these. I think they're very lazy. I think they went, hey, we did a Diglett form before with the Alolan forms of them, and that seemed to be fairly positive. I mean, all they did was stick a wig on it and make it a steel type, but like people seem to generally like that. So I think they went, we can do that again. What's the idea? Oh, let's do a water type. Okay, well, what if we just take the W from water and replace the D's at the beginning of Diglett and Dugtrio, and that's the Pokemon. Like, it's Wiglett and Wugtrio. Do you like that? No? What if we made Diglett and Dugtrio just longer? What if we just stretched them out? Just Diglett but long. Like, I don't know. It's super lazy. The memes of it are really funny, so that might be saving it a little bit. But I don't like it. I think it's a bad design. I think it's lazy. It's never going to make it on my team ever because there's so many better water-type Pokemons in this game. It's not... I don't know. Didn't need to exist. Don't necessarily hate it, I guess, but didn't need to exist. Then we got Bombardier. It's supposed to be a play on Bombardier, but they just stuck bird in there because it's a stork, I guess. Whatever. Fine. This is just a stork. This is just a stork Pokemon. It's fine. I have nothing against it. It's one of the Titans, which I think is weird because it doesn't... I don't know. I don't know if it vibes on that level of being like one of the big Pokemon of this generation, which is what I feel like the Titans should have been. Also, I don't like how it's constantly holding that one part in its beak. I think in the occasions when it drops that, it looks better. It's a better design in those moments. But when you look at it in the Pokedex, you look at it in combat, it's always holding that thing in its mouth, and it looks really... And it's a poor choice for an otherwise fine Pokemon. Like, it's not exciting, but whatever. Okay. Finazin and Palafin. So, Finazin and Palafin irritate me because I really like Finazin. I think Finazin's great. It reminds me of that one Yu-Gi-Oh card that's just like a dolphin and a chrysalis. I think I might literally just be called Chrysalis Dolphin. And I really like it. You know, I think we were kind of overdue for a dolphin Pokemon, genuinely. Dolphins are such a popular animal that, like, I'm surprised that it took us 9 generations to get one, because kids love dolphins and kids love Pokemon. So, like, it seems like a surefire hit. I don't know why it took us this long to get one. But when I evolved mine into Palafin, I was at first very disappointed because it didn't change, like, at all. It just got the heart on its chest, and I was like, okay, that sucks. Like, that's really bad. And then I looked it up, and I found out that Palafin has what's called a hero form, which sucks. Like, this should have just been a one-stage Pokemon. It should have just been a dolphin and just been a cute little water-type dolphin, and that would have been fine. I would have much rather had that than this. I think the Palafin hero form is a terrible design. It's over-designed. It's ugly as hell. Like, just really ugly. And its gimmick is irritating, because what it is, if you don't know, is so Palafin is in its normal form, when you first put it out into a battle, and then to get it into its hero form, you have to recall it, which it has a move that does that for you, so that makes it a little bit easier, but then put it back out, and then it'll be in its hero form. And I guess this is supposed to be like a gimmick to be like, oh, it's like those times that Superman like runs into a telephone booth and he changes into his costume real fast and he comes back and he's a hero and he's like, wow, it's me, Superman. And like, I get it, like I understand the concept, but it's really stupid. And what that means is that like I'm never gonna do that. Like I'm never gonna do that. I'm never gonna remember to care. I don't know. It's really disappointing. Like it makes him stronger, I assume. So like maybe if I was in a pinch, I would do that just to get a little bit of a boost. But the normal form Palafin or Finizen, I guess, is just a better design than hero form. Hero form looks really stupid. I hate it. I genuinely hate hero form Palafin. It's awful. Then we got Varoom and Revaroom. These are interesting. I have nothing against these designs. I know a lot of people really hate like object Pokemon. I don't. There's some that are a little bit more weird choices, and I think this is probably on the high end of weird choices, because it's an engine block in a universe where like we never get a car. I mean, like there's cars in it, I guess, but like we never ride one. I don't think. I guess maybe in like Hoenn, when you first show up, you're in the back of a truck, so I guess that counts. It's weird. It's weird. I don't dislike them. I think Revaroom is cooler than Varoom. Varoom reminds me of the vacuum cleaner from Teletubbies for some reason, and that doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't do it for me. Revaroom reads more as a Pokemon. I think that's better. Then we got Cyclizer, and I wish Cyclizer evolved. Genuinely, I wish it did, because Cyclizer is a really cool first stage evolution design. I like it a lot. It was on my team for a little bit, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't get particularly strong, so it fell off my team, and that's kind of a bummer, because I think it's a cool design. Also, I wish that I could ride it. I love, like, I have, my legendary ride Pokemon, of course, and I like him, but sometimes I just want to ride my normal Cyclizer, and I don't think I can, or at least I haven't figured out how. Okay, then we've got Orthworm. Don't like Orthworm. Don't like it. I'm gonna move past the fact that because of the texture they gave it and the ridges that they gave it, it looks like a vibrator, and instead talk about how it's just a really boring design. They took a worm, made it metal, gave it dumb cartoon eyes, and then when it punches, it gets like these weird little pseudopods out the side of it that are gross. I hate it. Moving on. Then we've got Glimmet and Glimora. I have not actually seen these in game yet, so maybe they don't look as stupid in game, but on the pictures that I've seen, it looks like it's an anus with a hemorrhoid hanging off the back that evolves into a prolapsed anus. That's the read I get, and I don't like it. I think it's awful. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Cosmog, I guess, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing, I guess. I don't care for it. I wish it wasn't the way it is, but it is. So here we are. Greavard and Houndstone. Greavard, I think, is very cute. I think it's in the contention for best dog of this generation. Although that's a tough competition because Fidough and Mabosstiff are also very good. I don't necessarily care for the candle on its head because it just looks like a Litwick. I don't know. I feel like there might have been a better design either without the candle or maybe something else up there. And then Houndstone, I don't care for Houndstone. It's just a skeleton dog with like long hair. It looks like a mop. Like it looks like a mop with a skeleton face sticking out the front. And I don't know. Don't care for it. Then we got Flamigo. It's a flamingo who's your amigo. Isn't that cute? I wish he was more. This is one of those designs where it's like, that's just a flamingo. And like, I don't mind that. For me personally, I know this is like a big contention point in the Pokemon community where people are like, oh, this is just that animal. And I don't mind that. Because for me, I want Pokemon that look like they could survive and be real creatures in the world. And if it just looks like an animal, it's like, well, that's just an animal, but it's an animal that could exist in the world. So sure, fine, whatever. I wish it was more, but I don't hate it. I don't know. If it maybe it evolved into something, it would have been cooler, but I don't know. Kind of a nothing design. Satodal and Satitan. Satitan I really like. I think Satitan is a cool design. Just like a big dumb ice monster whale thing. I think that's kind of cool. I don't like the way its mouth opens, where like it's got like it's like I don't know how to describe it, but I don't like the way its mouth opens. Satodal or Satodal, I guess, is just very boring. It's just very boring. It's a first stage evolution that evolves into something way cooler. So it's just a thing that you keep in your box until you find an ice stone to evolve it with, and then you get a Satitan, and you can actually use that. But I don't know. Satodal's nothing. Satitan's cool. King Gambit is way over designed, like way over designed. Bisharp was already a really cool Pokemon. It didn't need an evolution. Maybe a Paldean form would have been a better choice than King Gambit. Also, King Gambit, bad name. Just a bad name. To just throw that out there. I don't know why it has to have so many blades. It kind of looks like a Rhino Beetle, which is probably what they're going for. And that's fine, but I don't know. It's just too much. It's way too much. Veluza. A very fast Pokemon. Don't care for it. Just a metal fish. I don't know what else to say about this. It's just a metal fish with a bunch of spikes on it. I don't think it looks good. It's never gonna make it on my team. I'd be surprised if it made it on other people's teams. I think it's really ugly. I think it's a really ugly Pokemon. And not even like in an interesting way, like how Dondozo is an ugly Pokemon, but in like a cool, like Don sort of way. Dondozo, I think, is a neat Pokemon. He's very big, and I like him. I like him a lot. He looks like a Zelda boss. I don't remember the name of the specific Zelda boss, but he looks like a Zelda boss, and I think that's cool. He's just a cool big dumb fish, and I like him. I told you would hear those traffic noises. What I don't like is Tatsugiri. Tatsugiri is nothing. Like, that is the most just nothing design. I don't know. The eyes in the front are way too big, and I know it's supposed to look like a sushi roll, but it doesn't even look like a sushi roll. It comes in a bunch of different colors. I don't like it. It's so dumb. It just looks like it's from a different cartoon. Like, it looks like a cartoon character from like some 2020 Cartoon Network show, and which is not a compliment. It's very ugly. Very much hate it. Okay, and then we're going into the Paradox Pokemon. So this would, I think, be the first point at which people who don't want spoilers should jump out, because these are late game Pokemon, and we're just gonna roll right into it with Great Tusk. This is the past form of Donphan. I think this is probably my favorite of the Paradox Pokemon, maybe second favorite behind Soaring Moon or whatever it is. But Great Tusk, I think it's really good. I don't like the way its mouth opens. I think I've said that for like 3 Pokemon, which is a weird complaint to have. But I don't like the way its mouth opens. The animation for it kind of creeps me out a little bit. But Great Tusk, very cool. It just looks like a caveman Donphan, which is what they were going for, and I think they nailed it. Screamtail, I think, is also fine. It's weird to me that it's a Jigglypuff and not a Wigglytuff, because it makes me feel like it should evolve into something else, but then it doesn't, which is, I don't get it. I don't know why they chose to do that. But whatever. I think it's fine. I think it's cute. I'm not going to use it, but I think it's fine. Brute Bonnet, don't care for it. Just don't care for Brute Bonnet. It's a dumb boy. I didn't like Fungus or Amoongus. I don't like this one either. Also, can I say, so Great Tusk, Screamtail, Brute Bonnet, this is naming convention of just like names. There's like just like 2 words. I don't like it. I think it's a really stupid idea. It makes them not feel like Pokemon. It makes them feel like, I don't know, like super villains almost. Like, it makes them feel like comic book characters in a way that I don't really like. But yeah, Brute Bonnet, definitely pretty bad. Fluttermane, I wish he was more different than normal Mischievous, but I think it's fine. You know, it's just, it made the things longer and it looks more like Mayan or Aztec-y almost. I think that's cool. I think it's fine. Slitherwing, don't like as much. Also, don't like the name. Slitherwing specifically sounds kind of gross. I don't understand why folding its wings up has made it a fighting type instead of a fire type. I'm not really sure that the design supports that decision. Don't care for it. But by far the worst past Paradox Pokemon is Sandy Shocks. I can see people liking this design as like a meme and just using it on their team because it's really stupid and funny in that way. But I think if you genuinely are like, which ones look like good real creatures, Sandy Shocks is never going to make that list. It looks really stupid. It's like a Mad Maxi thing. Again, this is another situation just like Fluttermane and Screamtail, where it's like, why is it Magneton and not like Magnezone? Like, there's another evolution for this, and I feel like it would have maybe fit this aesthetic better than trying to figure out how to get 3 eyeballs on this thing. Like, I don't know. This is by far the worst past Paradox Pokemon. But I still think it's better than pretty much all of the future Paradox Pokemon. I'm really glad, in retrospect, that I chose Pokemon Scarlet, although the reason I chose Pokemon Scarlet was because of the professor. I think she's very hot. So I didn't know that this was going to be the thing going in, but I'm really glad I chose it because all of the future Paradox Pokemon are terrible. Every single one. Just hate them. Just absolutely hate them because they're just robots. They just took the designs of a normal Pokemon and they said, what if it was a robot? Which doesn't make sense. I don't think, because like they're supposed to be just like these Pokemon but from the future. And I don't understand how these Pokemon are going to evolve over time into robots. Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that that's how evolution works, but here we go. The first of which is Iron Treads. This is fine. It's just Donphan but a robot. Like, I have very little to say about these Pokemon because it's literally just that Pokemon but a robot. Iron Bundle, it's just Delibird but a robot. Ice Water, cool. Like, sure. Iron Hands, it's just Hariyama but a robot. I think the electric typing on it is cool. Like, that makes sense. I think I don't know, it's probably one of the better ones of these if I'm being honest, but it's still just a robot. Iron Jugulus, just a robot. And they got rid of 2 of its heads. They took Hydreigon and they took out the thing that makes it Hydreigon and then made it a robot. Iron Moth, you know what, actually this is probably the best of the future ones. Iron Moth is a cool design, actually. I don't like it because it doesn't make sense to me that it just evolves into a robot. And this is literally just Volcarona, but a robot. But I happen to really like Volcarona, so I guess that's fine. It's probably why I like it. Iron Thorns, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's just a robot. That's just a robot Tyranitar. There it is, robot Tyranitar. Hope you like it. There it is. Okay, then the pseudo-legendary of this generation, Frigibax, Arctibax, and Baxcalibur. Hate Frigibax, really hate that. Little boy, ooh boy, didn't need that. Arctibax, cute. Cool little dinosaur. We didn't get fossil Pokemon this generation. I guess that's, I guess the Paradox Pokemon are sort of filling that slot as just things from the past. But Arctibax is clearly like a dinosaur, so I guess he's also kind of a fossil Pokemon, and I appreciate that because they're usually some of my favorite Pokemon of the generation. And then it evolves into Baxcalibur, which is just Godzilla, but I think it's fine. It's definitely not on the high end of the pseudo-legendaries, but I think it's fine. I've got nothing against it. Ice Dragon, that's cool typing. It might make it on my team. I have a Frigibax right now that I'm trying to evolve, and it might make it onto my team, genuinely, because I'm sure it's very strong, and it's a good typing, so who knows. Then we got Gimmighoul and Golden Go. Gimmighoul is fine. It's just the Reddit guy. I know everyone's saying that, but it's just the Reddit robot. Sitting in a chest full of Bitcoin. And if you give him enough Bitcoin, he turns into a arm-flailing inflatable tube man. And I think that's really stupid. I hate the gimmick of I have to pay this thing. I think it's literally like 1,000 coins, and you get them 1 or 2 at a time. Like, screw that. Absolutely 100% screw that. I'm not going to do that. That's the number one thing that's going to stop me from finishing the decks is I'll probably just end up, I'll just trade for a Golden Go because I'm never going to do that. It's a terrible idea for a really bad design, if I'm being honest. Like, it looks bad. I don't like the texture on it. I hate it. I actually hate it. I actually hate Golden Go. Then we've got the legendaries of this generation, which this would be another big spoiler point. So if people want to jump out now, I think that would be a good idea. The legendaries or the 4 extra legendaries of this generation are called the 4 Treasures of Ruin, and I think the concept of this is that it's supposed to be like cursed artifacts that embody a certain element, and then that element becomes a Pokemon. I've only found 2 of these in my game so far, which are Qian Pao, who's like it's like a sword. So there's like a hilt of a sword on one side and the blade of a sword on the other side coming out, and then it's like an ice weasel. I don't think it's a good design. Spoilers, I don't like any of these designs. I think they're just over designed. They don't feel like Pokemon. They feel like they're from a different game or a different universe entirely. And they don't even have the excuse of like how Ultra Beasts look like they were supposed to be from a different universe, but they literally were from a different universe. These ones are just kind of ugly. Qian Pao is, I think, probably the best of the 4. The other one that I've seen is Ting Lu, who's he's a ground type bowl man, I guess. I think the artifact part of him is supposed to be the bowl that's on top of the bowl. He's fine, I guess. He's just a rock cow. He's just a big dumb rock cow. I don't know. Doesn't do anything for me. Chi Yu, I think, might be the next least bad of them. It's just a goldfish made of fire. I've seen it in game, not in my game, but I've seen like video of it. And I think it's supposed to be entirely made out of fire, and then like the artifact is the eyes. It's like the jade, like yin yang thing in the that are the eyes. I think that's the artifact, and then the fire is just like a thing. I don't know. I think it's really boring that it's just a goldfish. And then Wo Xian it's just a grass slug. I don't know. All of these feel like they're not from Pokemon. Like they feel like Wo Xian specifically feels like a Ghibli monster, and then the other ones are, I don't know. I just don't care for them. They feel really out of place. You have to do a lot of legwork to get them to show up, and they're not worth it. They're just straight up not worth it. I don't like them. We have 2 of the 2 last Paradox form Pokemon. We're almost at the end here. We've got Roaring Moon, who's phenomenal. I love Roaring Moon. Like he looks like a mega evolution of Salamence. I haven't seen him in game yet, but I am very excited for when I do. He's probably going to make it on my team because he's fantastic. I hope I can catch him before the Elite Four because I haven't done that yet, and I would like to use him on the team to do that because he'd probably sweep the whole thing. Look, just based on his stats, he seems really overpowered. I love him. He's like what if Salamence was Quetzalcoatl, and I think that's really cool. I think that's a really good idea. This is one of my top 10s of this generation for sure. Iron Valiant, it's just Gardevoir as a robot, just a Gardevoir robot. Doesn't do nothing for me. Like it's just another one of these robots. I don't care for these robots at all. I think they're really boring. I think they're really lazy, and I think if I had chosen Violet, I would have been wildly disappointed that I was stuck with these robots instead of the past designs, because some of the past designs are really good and none of the future ones are. Then we've got the legendaries. You've already seen them. They're box legendaries. Koraidon and Miraidon. Koraidon, so clearly the better of the 2. Like, so clearly. He's like a Quetzalcoatl feathered serpent monster. He's phenomenal. I don't like the wheels on him is my only thing, especially the back wheel. Because when you ride on him, he just walks. So, like, he doesn't need the wheels. The one in the front is fine because it looks like some lizards have that like bit that extends. Like I think like a gnolls have that where they like flare it out as like a mating thing. So like that's fine, but he doesn't use it, so I don't know why he's got it. And then Miraidon, I don't care for. It's basically just a robot version of Cyclizer. It's more than that. Like I like the electricity coming off the head, and I like that it has jet thrusters. Like that's a cool design. Like they did something with it more than just turn Cyclizer into a robot. But I would never choose it over Koraidon. It would just never happen. So really glad I chose Scarlet. So that's all my thoughts on the new Pokemon for Generation 9. This took way longer than I thought it would. I genuinely thought this was going to be like a 20-minute video, and it turns out that I just can't not talk for way too long about this sort of thing. But these designs, I think they're a real mixed bag, you know what I mean? Just like the rest of the game, I think that it's really, really hit and miss. If you want me to do a full review of the game and hopefully not take an hour doing it, I'll try to keep it more in line. Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm certainly interested in doing that. I have to obviously finish the game and then collect my thoughts on it into a more succinct fashion. But if you want that, just let me know. I don't know if there's really a draw for it. I don't have a ton of Pokemon content on the channel, so just let me know if you want that. But anyway, I gotta get out of here because I've been sitting here for, I think, over an hour talking about these new Pokemon. So until next time, I'll see you around.